Hi everybody, Jamie the Board Game Man here, and today we're going back to the year 2013. It's a 2 to 4 player game by Mattel Games, ages 7 and up. In this game, the first thing you think about is Tetris, because the little pieces that are in this game remind you of the Tetris game. But in this game, they're not coming down, they're actually being placed on a board. It is called Blokus. Now in this game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to lay down all of your pieces on the board. For every piece you are not able to lay down on the board, you get -1 point for every little block that is remaining. Person who has the most points wins the game. So let's head on over to that gamer's table, and I'm going to show you how to play Blokus. Okay, here we are at the gaming table with the game Blokus. You can see you have the instruction booklet. You also have the game board that's plastic, and it has these little ridges in there so you can place these little pieces into these little ridges to keep them on so they don't lay flat. They actually fit in there really good. That is something I really enjoy. So you have the board, and then you have 4 different colors of these playing pieces. There's 21 pieces each. So you got yellow, green, like a bluish purple, I guess you could say. I'm not sure what color that is. Pretty cool looking color. And red. Now the object of the game is you're trying to place all of these blocks on the board. If you're able to do so, you get a bonus of 20 points. And let's see here. Actually, these are actually still sealed. I thought these would be kind of like a Ziploc baggy thing, but they're actually really sealed. So let's take a time out here and get these all squared away. Alright, so I went ahead and opened up 2 of them. So we're going to have yellow and green. I'll go ahead and put these 2 back in the box. So that way I can kind of show you how this game is played. Now, like I said in the intro, it is a 2 to 4 player game. If you are a 2-player playing, then what you're going to do is each player is going to have 2 of the colors. What's going to happen is, say I'm player 1, I would have yellow. This would be, maybe let's just say red is in this corner, green would be in this corner, and then the blue would be over in this corner. And what you would do is player 1 would be in charge of yellow. Yellow would start at this corner, and then player 2 would have red on this side. Player 1 would have green across the way, and then player 2 would have the blue. So you're going to be diagonally from each other. So I would start setting off these yellows, and then red would go, and then I would go next with the green, and then the second player would start putting the blue on there. That's how that works as a 2-player game. If it's a 4-player game, then every player has their own colors, and every player starts at their own corners, and so on. If it's a 3-player game, then what you do is you have 3 players start at their corners, and then you'll be like a ghost player. So I say I'm player 1, this is player 2, this is player 3. Each player would take a turn placing one of the ghost players' things. So say, for instance, I'm the first player. I would place mine, red would place theirs, green would place theirs, and then I, being the first player, I would be the first one to place a blue one. And then when it went around again, player 2 would place a blue one. And then when it went around again, player 3 would place a blue one. So that's how it works with the 3-player game. There's only a couple rules in this game. It's really quick and simple. Is when on your very first play, each player has their corner, okay? This little square right here in the corner must be covered on the very, very first block. So I would have to do something like this. That would constitute a correct first move. Let's just say I cannot do something like this, where it doesn't go in the corner. Or, worse yet, that plus one, I wouldn't be able to use this because it doesn't cover the corner. So the very, very first tile in your corner must cover this corner square, just like so. All right, just like that. All your blocks cannot be butted up against each other. You can't do something like this. You can't do something like this. It always has to be diagonally from each other. So in this case, if I put this L here, my next move can be something like this. It is diagonally from here. Or I can do something like this. That is diagonally from it, as long as it's not rubbing up against each other. Now, you can rub up against other players. So let's just say this was here, like this. It is illegal. It's like this. It is legal for me to do something like this. Because I'm diagonally from my piece, I can be up against other players. I just can't be laying up against my own pieces. So then green could do something, okay? Like this next one could be something like this. I can go up against the green, but I am diagonally from my piece. Now usually it's a race to the middle because obviously you want to try to cover as much of the board as you can. Remember, you're actually doing two different colors at the same time. If something happens like this, when you're coming like this, and you go something like this, which would be really cool. Let me see. Let me do something like this. Let me do a different piece here. Or something like this. Then obviously what you can do is on your next turn, when you're placing your pieces like so, it's very important, like something like this, where you're going diagonally from here, and you're trying to go through. What you can do is you can actually, this green, say I'm trying to block the green from going, the green can actually still go diagonally from even through these two. So he could probably do something like this, because he's going diagonal, and he can fit it in just like that, okay? So that's something you could do too. You could try to block them in, but they can still go diagonal like that. So that's kind of a cool little move there too. So that they can actually do that. All right, and that's pretty much what you're trying to do. You're playing, you're putting each turn, you're putting a piece down that's either diagonally from one of your pieces of your own pieces. Now, this is how the scoring works. If you are able to place each and every one of these pieces on the board, which is possible, it's hard to do, but you can, you get 20 points. All right. Each player has the same pieces. So the same 21 pieces. There is one piece that has one box only. If this is the last piece you place on the board, say that was my last piece, even if you still had pieces left over, see you're playing, you had these three left over, okay, and your very last one you place like this, and then that's it, you get 5 bonus points for this being the very, very last tile you lay down, is the single one. And you only have one of those, all right? You get 5 bonus points. At the end of the game, say all the tiles were out, and let's just say this is what's left over for green, this is what's left over for yellow, okay? What you would do is you would get minus points for every one of these little squares you still have that didn't make it on the board. So in this case, yellow would have minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Minus 8 points. In this case, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It'd be 8, so you would actually have a tie right there. But let's say, for example, he had this as well. This would be minus 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Minus 13 points versus minus 8 points. I would end up being the winner because I have the least amount of points that was negative. And of course, you always look out here. I would have got that plus 5 points for this. So actually, I would have had minus 3 points. All right? And that's pretty much how it works. And whoever has the least, pretty much the least amount of negative points, almost like golf, wins the game. And that, my friends, is Blokus. Now let's head on over to the game room, and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so my final thoughts on Blokus. You know, this is actually a pretty fun little game. You can easily find this game anywhere. I mean, a lot of thrift stores will have this for pretty cheap. I know this used to be a Target and Walmart for quite some time. I'm not sure if it's still there because this has been out since 2013. So it's been out for, what, 9 years? This is 2022. Every once in a while, I do still see it. It is a 2 to 4 player game. 2 players is pretty cool because you're actually in charge of 2 different colors on opposite ends of the board coming to meet in the middle. So that's pretty cool. 4 players would be really awesome because you have 1 player at each corner. I'm not too sure if I'm a big fan of the 3 player. Because you got that ghost player and every person takes a turn putting a block for the 4th player. I don't know if I like that. But I can understand because you have to have it even on all sides. So I can understand him having to do that. But do the thumbs down the 3 player. I don't think that'd be really good. But 2 and 4 are a lot of fun. And especially with 4. Where that way you can concentrate on your 1 color only. Where the 2 player, you got to concentrate on your 1 in front of you. Then the 1 across from you, you're kind of trying to do 2. So it really makes your mind double the work trying to figure out how to try to stay alive and try to block your other opponents from both sides. You have both sides, you're going from diagonal. So it's actually pretty cool. So I do recommend the game. Let's give it a thumbs up here because it is a pretty cool game. It's a cool game for kids that can easily pick it up and get to know shapes. You can flip over the shapes, which is cool. A lot of games you can't do that. This one you can flip on either way. Oh, I want to flip it upside down to that way. You can do that. Whatever you can do with the I like that the board has the little indentions in it, so you're not just placing them on there where if somebody, you know, moves it, they won't move out of place. They're actually in the, you know, they're like a little indention in there, so they actually stays in on the board. So that's pretty cool too. And yeah, I definitely recommend the game. Let me know if you have the game, don't have the game. Always love reading those comments down below. And that was my review of Blokus. So I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and happy gaming.